In Baldur's Gate 3 and 5th edition in general, strength and dexterity have broadly overlapped functions as your martial attack stat, meaning they compete with each other. In my guides, I've taken the controversial opinion that in Baldur's Gate 3, strength is stronger than dexterity. Strength outcompetes dexterity for every martial class, and just in general offers more than dexterity does. Many people find this surprising or even just outright mistaken. After all, the conventional wisdom among tabletop 5e optimizers is that dexterity is a superstat, so how can strength be better in a 5e game? Basically, for me, it comes down to the strength of improving your shove action. The tactical advantage of this outweighs the pure statistical numbers advantage that dexterity gives. In this video, I'm going to be making that case, but first let's go over what strength and dexterity give you. First and foremost, strength gives you improved accuracy and damage for melee weapons, and this is all melee weapons. Finesse weapons have the option of using dexterity instead, but you can always choose to use them with strength. The game just uses whichever is higher. But besides that, strength also gives you increased jump distance, increased shove and throw distance, increased carry weight, increased drag and lift. It improves your athletic skill, and it, of course, improves your strength saving throws. So that's strength. What about dexterity? Dexterity also mainly gives you improved accuracy on damage. For dexterity, it's with finesse weapons and with ranged weapons. Besides that, it also improves your armor class, your initiative. It gives you bonuses to your acrobatics, sleight of hand, and stealth skill checks, and it improves your dexterity saving throws. It may seem just from this list that dexterity is giving you more at every point. I mean, it modifies both melee and ranged attacks instead of just the melee that strength gives you. It improves 3 skills instead of 1. Dexterity saves are more common and more impactful than strength saving throws, and after all of that, it also improves your armor class and initiative, 2 very valuable stats. So altogether, the seeming advantage of dexterity over strength is that it improves your ranged attacks, that it gives you improved armor class, that it improves your stealth, and that it improves your initiative rolls. These are the common arguments I hear for why dexterity is better. Later on, we'll go through each of these one by one, but for now, I want to focus on making my case for why strength is better. And to do that, we need to pay close attention to the differences between acrobatics and athletics on shoves. Shoves are resolved on what is called a skill contest, which you can see is a head-to-head battle between 2 skill checks. Both characters involved make an ability check modified by their respective skill proficiencies, and whoever gets the highest modified number wins the contest. In the case of a shove, the creature that is shoving uses their athletic skill, while the creature defending against the shove uses either acrobatics or athletics. This means that investing in strength and athletics improves your chances to both resist a shove and to land one, whereas investing in acrobatics and dexterity only improves your chances to resist. Okay, so strength is better at landing shoves, but why is this a big deal? I mean, it's a massive deal. If you're up to date on my other Baldur's Gate 3 videos, you probably already know where I'm going with this. Larian implements shoves very differently than the standard 5e rules. In Baldur's Gate 3, shove is a bonus action, not an action, but it can only push enemies backwards, not prone. That's okay because shoving people backwards is the main thing we want it for, and now we can do that on a bonus action. Being able to push a person backwards has several tactical uses, but the main one by far is the damage you can deal by pushing enemies off of cliffs or into persistent AoE damage effects like Cloud of Daggers. Cloud of Daggers deals 4d4 slashing damage to any target who moves into the AoE or begins their turn there. No saving throw, no roll to hit, just an automatic 4d4 slashing. Averages on dice rolls can easily be found just by adding together the lowest possible outcome and the highest possible outcome and dividing that by 2, which for 4d4 is 10. It's 16 plus 4, which equals 20. 20 divided by 2, of course, is 10. The more dice you roll, the more stable that average will be, by which I mean the more likely you will be to roll around the average instead of the higher or lower extremes. And with 4 dice, we will very reliably deal around 10 damage per proc of Cloud Daggers against targets without slashing resistance. Now 10 might not seem like that much damage, but shoving a target into the cloud will guarantee at least 2 procs of that damage. Why? Well, remember, it procs when targets move into it and start their turn in it. When you shove a creature into it, it will proc once initially on your turn when you first push them. Then when they start their turn, it will proc again. That's 2 procs of 10 damage, i.e. 20 damage on average, and that's very, very stable average. That 20 damage is as close to a guarantee as anything in Baldur's Gate 3. 20 damage is a lot of damage. It is equivalent to a character with 18 strength and Great Weapon Master landing an attack with a Great Axe. But remember, shoving is a bonus action, so you can see yourself as swinging a Great Weapon Master Great Axe as a bonus action. That is why shove is so important. Now, everyone has access to these bonus action Great Axe attacks because everyone, regardless of class or attributes, can shove. However, to make the shoves accurate, you need to invest in strength and athletics. Not investing in strength for a martial class is like passing on this insane damage option. In other words, it's just a waste, and that is why strength is better than dexterity in general. So now that I've made my case for strength being better, let's consider the very common objections I hear, usually in the comment section of my articles or my videos. First, people often say that because dexterity builds can use their attack attribute for both melee and ranged attacks, that this is a significant advantage for dex. It's a very minor advantage at best, because strength characters can make ranged attacks with their strength attribute as long as they are using thrown weapons. Thrown weapons attack range isn't as far as bows or crossbows, but it's still a ranged attack, and it's usually far enough in my experience. Another consideration is that strength-based weapons are just better right now. Some of the best magic weapons in the game are strength only. Think Sword of Justice, Faithbreaker, Light of Creation, Shattered Flail. By contrast, what good finesse and ranged weapons are there in the game? In terms of damage, there's the Sword of Screams, but you get that so late in your run, it's not really that useful. Hand crossbows are an exception right now, since they're bugged, and they allow you to add your dexterity modifier to damage on offhand attacks. That is really good, but like I said, it's a bug. I expect them to fix it. Second, probably the most common objection I hear, is that dexterity is better because it gives you bonuses to your armor class. But does it though? In a dex build, setting aside enchanted armor and shields, the highest armor class you can get is a 17. And that is with a +2 racial bonus to dexterity, a +2 dexterity ASI at level 4, and a +1 dex hag's hair. Strength builds can also get a 17 AC, only it's much easier for them. All they need is a 14 dexterity and medium armor proficiency, which are very easy to get. The takeaway is that dex is only really useful for armor class on builds that don't have medium armor proficiency. There is only one martial striker class that doesn't get medium armor proficiency, Rogue, and even for them, strength is better, but we'll discuss that at the end. The takeaway is that strength builds don't have any disadvantages to armor class. In fact, dexterity builds do. Third, some people have argued that dexterity is better because it modifies stealth, and stealth is overpowered. I agree that stealth is really powerful, and this argument is actually sound if we're talking about soloing, but as I said in my last video, I never take soloing into consideration in my Baldur's Gate 3 tier lists. If you want to know why, watch that video. See, in combat, stealth is useful for avoiding enemy aggro or controlling enemy aggro. If you're soloing, this is so overpowered, because avoiding aggro in a solo run means avoiding damage altogether. You are the only target, so if enemies can't target you, their turns are just wasted. But in a full party, avoiding aggro with one character just shifts that aggro to somebody else. So it's useful for controlling who enemies attack, but not avoiding attack. However, the biggest problem with this argument about stealth is that there are so many ways to reliably stealth that have nothing to do with dexterity at all. The difference between a 14 dex and a 20 dex for your stealth rolls is a +3. Casting Pass Without a Trace gives you a +10, and that to everyone in your party. Also, even if it was a +30, you can't slip into stealth while an enemy is looking directly at you. So the most important part of hiding is breaking vision, and the best way to break vision is to run around a corner or behind a pillar, or to use cover spells like Darkness and Fog Cloud. With Fog Cloud and Pass Without a Trace, anyone can hide, regardless of their dexterity, so in the end, dex doesn't really matter that much for stealthing. The fourth and final objection we'll consider is initiative. Dexterity improves your initiative, and winning initiative is extremely valuable. Is this enough to tip the scales in Dex's favor? No, not really. The problem is that, unlike previous editions, in 5th edition and Baldur's Gate 3, initiative is rolled on a die 20 instead of a die 10. The most Dex can get you is a +5 on that roll, which on a die 20 is 30 percentage point increase over a build that invests nothing in dexterity at all. However, remember that a typical strength build is still going to have at least a 14 dex, lowering that difference to a +3 or a 15 percentage point increase. Winning initiative is equivalent in value to getting a bonus turn, so you can think of that 15 percentage difference as 15% of a turn every encounter. That's a good bonus, but not better than a +3 to 4 on the accuracy of your shoves, which you will use multiple times in an encounter. So to finish off, I want to look at a specific class example, the Rogue class. Of the 4 martial striker classes available in Baldur's Gate 3, the Rogue stands out as being tailored perfectly for a dex build. They don't get medium armor proficiency and have lower hit point progression than most strikers, which seems to force them into dexterity for any semblance of durability. Perhaps more importantly, their main damage ability is sneak attack, and that only works with finesse or ranged weapons, so they are also forced away from those tempting greatswords and halberds. But even in the extreme case of rogues, strength turns out to be more optimal. First, because of how effective their shoves can be. Rogues can get skill expertise in athletics, doubling their proficiency bonus to shoves. Investing in strength on top of this nets them a massive +9 to their shove rolls, making them the strongest shovers in the game. On top of that, they can also shove twice in a round with the fast hands feature of the Thief subclass. In summary, they're a class that's all about bonus actions, and the best bonus action scales with strength. But what about their armor class? Can they really be that good at shoving if they are too squishy to stay on the front line? Armor class is a problem, but it's one that is easy to solve. Just get medium armor proficiency. Even for dexterity rogues, getting it is worth it, so you can use some of the downright broken medium armor pieces in this game, like the Speedy Light Feet or critical blocking helmets. There are 2 ways to snag your proficiency. One is with the moderately armored feet. This will also get you a shield proficiency as well, which is actually not as bad on rogues as people tend to think. However, the much easier way to get medium armor proficiency is through your race choice. Shield Dwarf and Githyanki both have it. Both also get +2 to strength, so you want to pick them anyways. And that's what really seals the deal on strength builds for rogues for me. The big thing you need to make it work, that medium armor proficiency, you get it for free on an option you were always going to pick anyways. So, in summary, dexterity is a steaming stack of dog turds. By all means, make it your primary attribute if you're a virgin who just likes to roleplay, but for the rest of us optimizers, we're going to be making characters that look like this. That's the way D&D was meant to be played. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you next time.